Jeremy Piven, after 3 seasons of Mr. Selfridge, how has your character evolved in that time?
Wow. In so many different ways. When he first arrived in the UK and England at the turn of the century, uh, he was starting from scratch in a culture in which shopping didn't exist. And he had to kind of invent the culture, convince them that it existed, and he was successful, and continues to be. During working hours, he would always take the high road, and was quite an example and brilliant at what he did. He felt that retail, he thought of it as theater, and was performing and putting on a show, as he even said. One of his heroes was P.T. Barnum. But at nighttime, he was a slave to his demons and his urges, and kind of went off the reservation a little bit, and cheated on his wife, and lost her and her faith and her love, and that relationship got her back finally. And as soon as he got his entire life together, he finds out that she's dying, and it was so brilliantly put together by all the writers and producers of Mr. Selfridge, and such a beautiful cautionary tale. And we pick up with him in season 3 at a point where, he's really lost, and he feels that love isn't for him, and he's incredibly sad, but knows that he will always have his store and his work and his ambition, and he throws himself into it and becomes a moving target. And along comes Nancy Webb, a woman with an incredible heart, who he feels is his last hope for love. And she turns out to be a complete and utter charlatan, and is taking him for his money. And he's been all over the place, and she breaks his heart. And we move ahead to the beginning of season 4, all the way into the late 20s, the roaring 20s. And that's where we are right now. I just came from the set, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I really mean it. I'm so proud and love this show, and each year it gets better, and I really believe that. And this year is no exception. I feel like this year it's amazing, because there's so much pace and energy, and we're using steady cams, and he is more of Harry Selfridge is more of a moving target than he's ever been. He falls for these American twins, the Dolly sisters. And this is true. It's been documented. And he spent over 200 million pounds on them, and gambling and madness. And we're in the belly of the beast right now, telling the story.
Yeah, it's like so incredible, this like character based on truth, and how larger than life he is, and how the story keeps on going. It's not just a guy who set up a department store. Let's talk a bit about the Nancy Webb stuff and the end of season 3 in particular, where you find out what her true identity is, and you tell her to go away. You never want to see her again. What did that mean for that character? A character who you just said, at the beginning of the season, thought, I'm never going to have love again. And then the person he falls for ends up pulling the rug out from under him.
Well, she not only meant, in his eyes, a hope to fall in love again, and to have a relationship, but I think he also felt that it was a sign, because she wanted to build these homes for the heroes, for displaced veterans, and his wife, Rose, back in Chicago, wanted to build homes along the lakefront in Lake Michigan for artists. So he felt that this was a sign, maybe from the grave. And it was so layered, and it had so much weight, and it was just so beautiful to play. And it was a very long scene, and it felt like a play. And this show has been incredible to be a part of, and beautifully challenging, and I've loved doing it. So that was an incredible scene to play as an actor, and something that we all look forward to doing, and heartbreaking for Harry.
Another aspect of season 3 of the show was your rivalry with Lord Loxley. And
Yeah.
how was it like sort of dealing with that sort of business side of the show and that rivalry this season?
Well, Aiden just crushed it as Lord Loxley, and Lord Loxley basically wanted to take Harry down and dethrone him, ruin his professional career and his life. Um, Lady May, who was his wife, who divorced him, and at a time when women didn't do that, they didn't step up like that and take ownership. And it's really beautiful what she did, and Harry was lucky enough to be a part of that and help pay for her attorney's fees. And she was there for Harry in the very beginning. You saw him go to her hat in hand in season 1 to get money to pay for his store because the backing fell out. And that Catherine Kelly plays so brilliantly, and she's back for season 4, and I'll get to that in a second. So Lord Loxley does everything he can to take away Harry's livelihood and to get him thrown off the board. And Aiden played it brilliantly, and he was an incredible foil to Harry. And finally, he's revealed, and he's revealed in public in a shareholders meeting. And Harry kind of navigates through that and pushes the right buttons, and Loxley reveals his true self and what his intentions are. And beautifully written scene and beautifully played by Aiden.
Yeah. What do you have a favorite scene from season 3 of the show?
That certainly is a great one, where he loses it. I do love the scene in which it's revealed how much Nancy Webb has affected Harry, and when he has to confront her about being a charlatan and being a gold digger and simply being in it for the money, even though she has fallen for Harry, it's too late. And he becomes very emotional because she did break his heart, and that's who he is. And the veil has been lifted, and anytime you get to reveal this, the pain of a character, it's a gift. So that was, and she played it brilliantly, and it was really fun to navigate through that and to play that. So that scene where Nancy Webb leaves Harry is probably one of my favorites. But that being said, this season already, here we are shooting episode 3 and 4 already. I've got a few favorites from this season, and that are my favorite of the entire series. So the show has a different pace and energy now because it is the Roaring Twenties, and all the characters are, I believe, firing on all cylinders, really interacting. It's almost like it's like all the everything's come to fruition, all the seeds that we planted with these characters. And I really love the place that we're at. And already Harry is he's running harder than he ever has, and indulging in indulgence and much of a muchness, and in the belly of the beast of the 20s. And when Lady May confronts him in this new season, he's yet again having to face himself, and that's pretty confronting and beautiful and emotional. So I'm gushing because I'm having an incredible time. It's been a beautiful ride. We planned on shooting 4 seasons, and that's what we're going to do. It's a rare thing because in the States, you go as long as a show is popular. And here, they're a little more premeditated in terms of they have an idea of how they want to tell the story, and we all believe that we can tell the story in 4 seasons, and we're going to be true to our word.
Mm. And I feel like what you touch on there is a real benefit of the medium of television, whereas in a movie or even a play, you've got, 3 acts, you got one sort of like 2 hours or 3 hours to tell a story, but you've had 4 seasons to tell the story of Mr. Selfridge, and you've been able to, as it goes on, expand the world of the show and explore the characters in a way that you just can't in 3 hours. What is the world of that Mr. Selfridge been like as it's expanded for you as an actor coming into it?
It's been incredible in the way that if you are to look at just the pilot, it doesn't even begin to tell the story. I mean, that's what's always so challenging about doing a pilot, is you have so much exposition to get across organically, and it's a tall order, and I feel like I'm just hitting my stride now in the fourth season, and listen. I've learned you're never too old. I'm a very old man, but you're never too old to learn. And so I'm learning and hopefully growing and getting better at what I'm doing. Because these actors here are so incredibly intelligent and prepared, and they're all without fanfare. They're not about celebrating themselves, taking victory laps or anything like that. They just come and they overachieve and they do the work, and it's a gift for me to play off of.
Mm. What would you say Mr. Selfridge's biggest character flaw is?
That's an excellent question. I think he has many flaws, and that's why actors gravitate towards these characters that live in these beautiful dualities. Like, he's couldn't be more professional and loving and evolved between 9 to 5, and a complete disaster at night. And that's really really fun to play. I think he desperately wants to do the right thing and knows what the right thing is, and he's just so restless. And he was a gambler. He was a risk junkie. Couldn't help himself from gambling and going out at night and playing poker and roulette and everything else. And as he got older, as I'm playing him now, he's someone who loves youth, and really his biggest flaw really is he's such a weakness for artists. His first love was Ellen Love, and she was an actress, and just everything about that, because he fancied himself an artist himself, and so he gravitates towards those who are artists, and just loses all sense of reality when he's around them, of morality, and just kind of takes that ride. So he's a slave to his urges when he's not in a professional setting, and that's a major flaw.
Mm. What do you think, like, being in Mr. Selfridge's, like, you've been in TV for a while, but just even the past 10 years, the landscape of television has changed so much. We're seeing more choices than ever before, more networks producing drama series and stuff like that. Just to highlight this, on the drama actor Emmy ballot that you're going to be on for Mr. Selfridge, there's 101 actors on that ballot. Like, and you're lucky, because if you're in the supporting race, there's 360 people that are competing for that spot. Like, how do you think TV sort of changed? Or what's Mr. Selfridge's piece of that pie that's cut up so many ways?
I don't know if I understand the question, but I will attempt to answer it, and you tell me if I'm answering the right question.
Okay.
Yes, there is a lot of competition, and man, there's so much great stuff on the air right now. And I was told not to do what I'm about to do. So this is the part where I get into a great deal of trouble. We are lucky enough to be broadcast on PBS. I grew up watching PBS. It has some of the best programming in the world. Ken Burns documentaries are some of the finest pieces of art you'll ever see. Their programming, scripted material is incredible. We are so lucky to be surrounded by all of this quality television. And yet the reality of PBS is they're funded by the people and they don't really have funds to advertise. And we're in a game, as Harry Selfridge knows more than anyone, because he built his empire on publicity. That's how he did it. He was taking ads out in the paper, full page ads, when that was not done. He didn't have any money and he was throwing, and it just all came back to him. And the irony is PBS simply doesn't have the funds to promote shows. They just have brilliant taste, and we're so lucky to be there. But you're up against these shows that have these big budgets. So it's difficult, and it's been a really interesting experiment. Now, we're a big hit and have been sold to 165 countries. I've never been on a show it's been sold. Entourage was not sold to 165 countries. So we're really well watched overseas. But in my backyard, in my country, sounds like I'm being so dramatic right now, in the United States, it's challenging. It is challenging. And so it's almost like an experiment. How long will it take for word of mouth to catch on? So that's where we're at right now. It's the best work I've ever done in my life. And I'm just learning so much. And I'm incredibly passionate about my show. And so I'm just trying to get the word out. And it is a show with such an incredible cast. There isn't a person that occupies the screen that doesn't deliver and that you're not fascinated about. And what I hear the most from people is when they're done watching it, they really are frustrated because they need to see the next episode. And that's a good sign to me. And that's what we're after. So we're actually, we might get lucky here finally, because I think we're in a time, as you know, as everyone knows, where people are addicted to binge watching and they don't have a lot of patience. So you can, they turned the lights on. I didn't pay my light bill, brother. Hold on a second. Let me do that.
Get the lights.
Yes. Holy shit, I look better in the dark.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I'm just glad the power bill hadn't just been cut, Jerry.
Yeah, that was I think that was the universe saying, stop talking, stop complaining. And I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you the reality of what I've been navigating. And I think right now, people who don't know about Mr. Selfridge can jump on Amazon Prime or iTunes and see the first 3 seasons and then start in with us on the 4th season. So I think that'll be fun for people.
And to the people who haven't seen Mr. Selfridge yet, to the people who are just like, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon, I've got this stack full of DVDs that I'm wanting to watch. What do you think Mr. Selfridge brings to television that other shows don't? That what's its unique voice in the TV landscape?
Well, I think at first glance, you see a very lush, glossy, brilliantly shot period drama, costume drama. And then you realize that these are characters with dimension that are played honestly and beautifully. Everyone around me, I have no idea what I'm doing, but everyone's just doing a brilliant job, and you become incredibly invested in these characters and their world. And it happens to be the true story of an American entrepreneur that no one knew he was an American at the turn of the century, who invented the department store and shopping as we know it. So it's a true story, and it's also sexy and fun and funny and has its own pace and energy, and is still, I truly believe, unique and original, even though it's a form that's been around forever. I mean, listen, they invented the costume drama over here, and it's one of their most popular shows, and it means the world to me to have people come up to me, the Brits, to come up to me and tell me how much they love the show. It's incredible. And so, you know, if they can buy it and if they follow it, then I think the rest of the world can follow suit.
In shooting season 4 or season 3, has there been anything fun that's happened on set?
Well, we were just shooting. Listen, here's the thing. To get it all in, they somehow manage to get every shot they want, and I'm not kidding when I tell you we have feature film coverage in an hour show that we get our filming in 12 hours, which is kind of miraculous for American television because you're usually always fighting that clock, and we get it in 12 hours and they never skimp, and you're in there grinding, man. And there is no downtime because you can't afford it. And I love momentum as an actor. And you know, you do get that, and I love it. So there's not a lot of time for wacky hijinks. You know, there just isn't. We were just shooting in Biarritz in the west coast of France, and a little known place that was very popular in the 20s and 30s and 40s, and we're in the late 20s now shooting in Mr. Selfridge, and it was so beautiful there. And I'm in a tuxedo doing these scenes on the beach, you know, and so people were like, "How was Biarritz? Was it the time of your life?" And it's like, yes. I mean, I could see in the background, if I just kind of look past my co-star, I could kind of see people swimming and living the dream in the background. But I was in a tux, you know, doing 6 pages. And I do want to go back there because it was incredibly beautiful. I'm not complaining. I'm so lucky to be working, and that's a reality. There's not a lot of jobs out there. We shoot 10 episodes in 7 months, and this is the conclusion of my 4th year here in London. And it's been a complete and utter gift.
We're an awards website at Gold Derby, and I guess like a really interesting experience you've had with awards was you won the Golden Globe in 2008, finally for Entourage, and that was the year of the writer's strike. So you didn't actually get to go to the Globes to pick it up. What was that like getting it in the mail?
Well, I have to say that, and I'm not just saying this, as soon I was nominated, and as soon and lucky to be, and as the moment I heard there was a writer's strike and it wouldn't be televised, I knew I was going to win. And I knew that it would be some surreal circumstance where, you know, you find out, you know, in a very unique way that has nothing to do with what our reference is for award shows. I somehow intrinsically knew. And it was really cool and fun and different. Listen, you know, I never was the popular kid. The guy that had all the luck, or the pretty boy that was discovered in a mall. You know, I mean, I was 40 movies into it before I started Entourage, and was lucky enough to be a working actor. And so that, you know, growing up in Chicago and being on the stage, you dream of just making a living. And that's the brass ring, is, you know, being a stage actor and making a living. And so the idea of winning an award for doing anything was and is beyond my comprehension. So I was handed the award in my driveway at home, and we took a picture on my phone. So that was like, you know, there was no acceptance speech, and it was for an audience of one.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Who are you wearing? Who are you wearing, Jeremy?
Who am I? At the time, I was wearing a Jocko sweatpants. Yeah, I was wearing sweatpants. I might have been one of the first nominees who have been awarded anything wearing sweatpants.
There you go. I all the years covering awards, I've never asked anyone that question till now.
Who do you wear? Genius.
Yeah. So Jeremy, also for Ari Gold, you're able to win 3 Emmys for so you're in quite the pantheon of multiple Emmy-winning characters. What was it like to return to an Emmy-winning character for film?
Well, you're always trying to build history with the characters you're working with and your fellow players. And obviously, after 8 seasons, we had all that in spades. And coming from Mr. Selfridge and playing in a totally different tone, and then returning to such a volatile character was great and a gift, because I had been working on so many other aspects of the game, and so it was fun to just throw the power suit on and just become a rageaholic and get back into the reactive behavior that is Ari Gold.
One of my favorite moments from you at the Emmys was the year you won and blasted the Emmy hosts for I think that's one of the best acceptance moments, where you sort of you made the joke. It was the year the 5 reality show hosts took over, and they had the 5 minutes of nothing, where they hadn't scripted anything. And up on the stage, you were like, you said something along the lines of, I could just stand here and say nothing. Oh, wait, that was the opening, or something like that. And it's one of those rare moments of sincerity that you see up on an award stage, or unscripted. That's not something you'd prepared to say before you'd gone to the award show.
Well, I was lucky enough to go with my mother, and who Joyce Piven has, and my father, who's passed away, have a theater in Evanston, and I grew up studying with them, and so it was only appropriate that I bring her. And the two of us were sitting there, and it was kind of like in the movie and then the play, the producers, you remember there's that song "Springtime for Hitler," and it was one of those moments where the show opened and we have these hosts and we're all there, and listen, hosting is probably one of the most challenging things you could ever do. It's a very surreal terrain to navigate, and so they were up there and we're all there, and you're all kind of nervous, and they just didn't say anything, and it was just one of the most surreal moments. And we all thought there's no way the show has begun. And so I was the first award. So I was literally just trying to process what just happened. And so that's where that came from. Yeah, that was just stream of consciousness.
Oh, it was I really enjoyed that moment. With talking about awards, with Mr. Selfridge, you were talking about being on PBS. It's hard to get attention and things like that. Hard to get the eye of the American viewer because they don't have the big advertising budgets. What would things like Emmy Award recognition mean for the show?
Wow. Well, I tell you, I really know, and so I can't pretend that I don't know. I've been around too long, and listen, for a show that is, you may look at me and go, "Oh, the guy's been around, and enough already." But listen, I'm on a show that everyone is working so hard and they're so good at what they do. And I'm really proud of that show, Mr. Selfridge. And we're an underdog, a true underdog, with no budget to advertise. And that's why your attention's never been drawn to us. It's tough. We're a part of a brand, which is Masterpiece Theater. So if you try to find it in a TV guide, you're not going to find it. You have to go to Masterpiece Theater, and then from that, you'll find Mr. Selfridge. And what an award would do, a nomination for the show in any way, shape, or form, will draw a lot of attention to the show and get viewers. I grew up in 99-seat houses, and we were just trying to fill that house. And I feel very similar to that now. And that's all we're trying to do. You work hard and you love what you do, and you just want to share it with people. And in the States, we're trying to get on the boards. And this would mean that we would get people's attention. And also, listen, I'm proud of it. And people are going to have a really great ride watching this show. And people are looking for that next new show. And I really believe this is it.
Did you also, Jeremy, see Arrested Development season 4 and the Jeremy Piven club they had in that show?
By the way, I did not see that episode, although I love that show. But that seems so funny and genius, like everything on that show. I'm a huge fan, but I missed the season on Netflix.
Yeah, it was a big commitment that season. It was brilliant, but you did have to sort of commit to the whole sort of season to get the payoffs for the jokes. Yeah. Just wonder what your reaction to that was, like with the and Jeremy Piven club being such a sort of staple to one of the episodes that season.
Well, you know what's so funny is, like, I would love to see the episode because I don't know the context of it. I just if I were to ever, and I will, get a chance in the future to talk to actors coming up, I would tell them this is a great example in the way that, I'm an actor for hire. I'm a hired gun, and the role of Ari Gold was the smallest role in Entourage, and basically I'm billed last. And I know the and looks like it's something special, but the reality is, it's the smallest role, and I was the last one cast. And the role, I was luckily we expanded the role, and that was amazing. But in the beginning, it was just a very small role with one scene in a pilot, so it was billed last. And then my agents went to work and said, well, can we get a little and in there? And so that kind of, like, the caboose ended up looking like it was maybe kind of special, but it is indeed last.
Yeah. And that's really, probably you've found a bit of a shift in going from that sort of character in a show that is the and character, the sort of supporting one scene in the pilot, sort of very dynamic scenes, to the lead of the show. Like the character which the whole world's built around.
Well, that certainly is your opinion, and thank you, because that's the way all actors play their role. I mean, I was, playing tiny, roles forever, and you play them as if they are the lead, because everyone's the lead in their own story. No one is the devil in their own story, and even if you're playing a villain. So that's the way you play them, and I appreciate that you thought that my character was the lead, and that's nice to hear. But the reality is, it was an ensemble show, and everyone, has their part to play.
Yeah, and then you go to Mr. Selfridge, where you can't have the show without Mr. Selfridge. Like, it's like your character is completely the center of the universe of the show.
Yes. Yes, he is. And as soon as I remember hearing first, it wasn't, you don't read I don't know if this is with all scripts in the UK, but you don't, or projects, you don't, I didn't read the script first. First, it was a treatment, and they talked about who the character was, what they planned to do, what the story arcs were. Everything was really thought out. And I was hooked before I even read the pilot because I couldn't believe that that actually happened. And his life was such fertile ground in which to do a series. And I thought, God, I want to play that guy. I really do. And I took a chance in playing him in the way that he thought he fancied himself a performer. And so he was performing. And then behind closed doors, the veil is lifted, and who his fears and doubts and insecurities are revealed. And so that type of duality was really, really fun to play. And all of that has been continued to be explored and heightened beyond even my expectations.
Tease us for season 4, Jeremy. You already have a little bit, but what's the thing we can be most excited about for season 4 of Mr. Selfridge?
It doesn't feel like any other period drama I've ever seen in my life. It has such energy and pace and drama, and I can't tell you too much, but there's so much earned darkness, ultimately, along with the bacchanalia that everyone was involved in the 20s. So I in terms of this series and how to end it, you get to see the rise and fall of Harry Selfridge, and it's documented, what happened to him. So I don't want to say too much, but he lived an incredible life and achieved so much, and was such a beautiful guy, but was tragically flawed and did have a fall from grace. And we're going to truly explore that.
Well, Jeremy, all the best with exploring that with the rest of season 4. We're really excited to see it, and hope it goes really well, getting more attention. And all the best with the awards and the Emmys, and hope you don't get into too much trouble for saying what they said not to say about PBS.
I may hold you responsible, man. It's just there's something about the Aussies. They make me feel very comfortable. I feel like I'm in therapy right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.